Hello! Okay, the process of devising Snow White herself was super fun. So there was a lot of music, there was a lot of improvisation in the rehearsal room, and there was just a lot of play and bouncing off of different characters. I think I was super lucky to be able to play along with so many different characters because I felt like each character plucked something different out of Snow White. So with her mother, she is extremely rebellious. She doesn't want to listen, but she's also quite scared. And then with the Earthburgers, she's super open, but she's really confused at the start. But they touch into some sort of sensitivity within her, and also make her feel like she's not alone, which was really cool. And then the Huntsman, who Snow White actually sees as her best friend, she confides in him a lot. So I think that, yeah, the personalities of Snow White are very different and very cool. So my character Snow White changed. I felt like she changed a lot since Cambridge. I feel like in Cambridge she was quite sensitive. Everything was brand new to her, and that was really interesting. And now, you know, going to the Tobacco Factory and re-rehearsing the show, I found a different sort of spark in her. I found that she was quite rebellious, more rebellious than before, and she had a lot more fight, and she was also more sarcastic. And it was fun to talk to the director, Alex Byrne, about Snow White, because he would always say, Jodie, find some sort of punchiness in her character, you know, make her very straight. And I had a lot of fun playing with that last year because I felt like her personality changed drastically in a good way, because she was extremely punchy and she was a lot more sarcastic with people, which made the comedy and the humour a lot more fun, and it also made the performance itself feel really on edge in the best way possible. So I think what excites me the most as an actor, specifically close to Snow White, is definitely being put on a spot on stage. And a good example of that is when Snow White wakes up in the Earthburger hut. She doesn't realise they're there. And the reaction I get from Alex Murdoch, Joey Hickman, Yomi and Richard is always really hilarious, because they're screaming in my face and I never know what to expect, and they pull funny faces, and it's really fun because it puts me on edge, because I'm always thinking, oh Jodie, you cannot laugh here. But I think that's the joy of it, because they always make me feel so happy. So I think that's the most important thing to feel on stage anyway as an actor, to feel happy with the thing that you're doing. And Alex Murdoch in particular, I developed something in the show where I become quite defensive when I first see them. And Alex Murdoch one night decided to mirror me, and she put her fists up, and it really made me laugh, and it was so unexpected. And I think that's my favourite thing, just not knowing what might happen. And yeah, it's just such adrenaline. So performing in Cambridge was very different to performing in the Tobacco Factories. So in Cambridge we were Traverse, and it was really interesting because actually that was the second time that I'd ever performed in Traverse, and there is a lot of things to think about. So you have to make sure that you're aiming everything on both sides, because they're so polar opposite. You really had to, as an actor, as a discipline, you really had to focus on aiming your words to both sides so that both sides could hear. You also had to play your actions to both sides, so you had to be very open. And I think I learned a lot from the cast. So Alex Murdoch and Steffi Muller, like, they really taught me, by watching them, they're very open, and they really taught me how to sort of work on that skill just by watching them. And it was a challenge, and it was a lot of fun. And the audience loved it though. On both sides, you would sometimes have a side that would be really enthusiastic, and the other side are very much into the story but quite quiet. And it was really fun to play off two energies. So that was interesting. And then we went to Tobacco Factory, and that was very different for me, because it was even more of a challenge. Although it was quite similar and you had to aim things to two sides, in the round you have to aim everything everywhere. So especially in that space, it's such a large and it's such an incredible space that the sound would just be eaten up by the audience. And so you really had to learn how to project, and you really had to learn the discipline of being open at 360. And it was a massive challenge, but also really exciting. And I think from this experience, I really know now what it is like to perform in the round, and I really know the importance of where things have to be hit. You know, Alex Byrne is a genius, and he would always come up to me and just go, just make sure that this line is directed that way and this line is directed that way, which, you know, I always accept because I'm like, yes, give me guidance, just because I want to learn. What's your favourite moment, song to perform? The classic question. Okay, the first moment is always with Steffi. It's always at the beginning when Snow White gets back into the chair to have her hair combed. I always laugh deep down inside. And it's just so funny. Steffi always makes me laugh without fail, because she's just so dedicated. And just the hair pulling itself, it's fun to play with the audience because, you know, anyone who's anyone as a kid with long hair, or even now, you know how painful it is to get your hair combed, like, violently. And it was just so much fun to do that with Steffi because it was acting, and to play with the facial expressions and the pain. It was quite funny with the audience because I would clock eyes with loads of different people and they would be looking at me like, oh God, is she okay? Another moment is always religiously going to be the moment where I am in the clearing with the huntsman, because that rap and the song is something very personal to me and Yomi, who plays the huntsman, because it came out of this totally organic thing in the rehearsal room. I started playing Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears, and I just beckoned Yomi over because the night before I think we had like a conversation about rapping and like music, and we both shared like a really good interest in the same sort of thing. And as a joke, I thought I'd tease him, and I said, come and rap something for fun. And then he just came out with this incredible line of Snow White running away from the Queen, and he just kept freestyling, and it was just incredible because it rhymed. And I was like, whoa, really taken aback. And Richard, I remember seeing Richard, and he was nodding along thinking, yeah, this is cool. And then as a joke, Alex Byrne walked in, and I said, Alex, you best put this rap into the show. And then he listened to it as a joke, and we played it to him, and we were all laughing. And he did a thing, the classic Alex Byrne thing, where he nods like this and he goes, yeah, all right. And then he said, let's try it then. Everyone gather around this piece of paper and let's try it. And because it just came out so organically, it's super dear to our hearts, because it also provides, I think, a platform for people to be able to write things or sing or rap when it's a moment where they find struggle. And in that moment in the play where I'm opposite the huntsman and he's trying to tell me to run away because he doesn't want to kill me, is extremely deep, and it's extremely intense, and there's a lot of love there as well. And yeah, I've always resonated with that moment, and the amazing score, Joey Hickman, you know, really brought that to life, and so did everyone else. And yeah, I think that's a big moment to treasure forever.
I might never ever see you again. This might be the end. I might never ever see you again. I might never ever see you again. I might never ever see you again. Snow White, this might be the end.